speak your mind. Join us as we go deep and see what we find. Don't just stay in the shallow, follow us into the atmosphere. This discussion's going to a new level, cause you know we're about to go deep in here. Deep space.
To make like a audience participation phone call?
We're not allowed to do any of that. Welcome to another episode of Deep Space. I am Ryan, and this is Brian.
I am Brian, your co-host. No, not really.
And we are the Ions. And today we're going to be talking about tribalism versus individualism in this weird filler episode as we work up to next week's episode where we're going to be talking about the non-binary people, and we're trying to get a non-binary guest, and scheduling issues are the problem here. So today we're going to be talking about tribalism versus individualism. If you like that, please stick around. Jen says, Brian, right off the bat, our first comment, which gets me to where I'm trying to go. The comments are live.
I love that person already.
The comments are live, so please chime into the debate. That's what this is about. It's a group conversation, so let us know your thoughts throughout the show in the comment section below. And real quick, you guys know what I have to do to start the show off. We have to plug our glorious overlords. First and foremost, don't forget, if you're looking to buy or sell a house in the Cleveland, Ohio, Northeast area, call Brick and Equity, 216-306-I-BUY or 216-675-SELL. They are great. They will help you buy and sell a home.
They'll give you a good deal, too.
They'll give you a great deal.
Yes.
Speaking of great deals, don't forget to check out Ohio City Barbecue. That's right, Ohio City Barbecue, our other corporate overlord. Just mention Eargasm Comedy or that you saw the show, and they're going to give you 15% off your whole order. And we need to get some new pictures of the food, so I'm going to go eat there again soon. But it's amazing, and they just catered our live event, which is beautiful.
Do that tomorrow.
Well, you want to get some food?
Absolutely, yeah.
Rock on. That's what it looks like. You guys can check them out. Also, don't forget to check out our minor sponsors, Invest in Yourself Podcast, Upside Down Studios, and I have a show to plug, but we'll get to that later. Let's bring our guests in and bring this thing up. Oh, my God. Hold on. Wait a minute. We have another special guest apparently today. The child is with us.
What?
Okay, in her first appearance. She just wants to be on the... She's like a background dancer.
I've always been in the background.
She's the brains behind the operation.
She's the brains behind all this.
Makes
Rock
sense.
on.
Well, we don't give women enough credit in our society. I wish we would.
You know, my favorite part of the show is like we always have like some viewers until I do the intros, and then like, you know,
I understand.
I guess they're all ordering Ohio City Barbecue right now.
This is an all-person participation podcast, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, no, we all, no, and you can just kick me if you want to say something, and I'll shut up. But so, individualism versus tribalism. I don't know where we're going with this thing. I don't want to get into the whole China. I'm not going to the extremes. Like, I don't think that we should all be, on camera 24/7.
One of us.
We don't need to go full hive mind. But what brought this to my mind is just kind of thinking about our history as a species. Like, we survived for so long by being close-knit tribes that cared about each other. And in the modern age, that seems to have gone away. So I kind of just want to debate with you guys whether we think that's a good or bad thing, what some of the pros and cons may or may not be. And Marco is ready, as he's always ready. I don't know what this a person is smart, people are dumb. What do you got going on behind you, Marco?
All right, so what's behind me is a quote from Men in Black, actually, and it's a quote that stuck with me for a while. And you know me, like certain weird things stick with me, but this right here proves everything what you're talking about right now is false. I'm gonna read the quote to you, and I'm sure everybody has heard it, but if not, hey, it says a person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it. 15 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was flat and the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew that. First 1,500 years ago, everybody knew the Earth was center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew that the Earth was flat. 15 minutes ago, you knew that we were the only people in the universe. We were the only sentient beings. Basically saying that a person, even us four people, can take a subject or an idea and run with it with our individual minds, but come together. But when you get too many people, especially nowadays, with this so-called collective mentality, and they panic, they start fucking up, they start doing dumb shit. We saw it in the riots all over, whether it was the 6th riots or the BLM riots. We see it all the time. Now, there is a place for the whole hive mind deal. And I see that in a lot of work or when you're trying to get shit done. But in your everyday life, that's just fucking communism, dude.
Well, see, I don't. Again, back to like the core of this debate. I'm not saying like the mob mentality is kind of what you're talking about, and I don't want that either. I'm just saying that I feel like individualism, just like where you are all you think about, and you're the core of your own little universe, and I think that's kind of what I'm talking about, where we're maybe too far that way, where we've stopped caring about those around us as much as we should, and we've been allowed to just kind of like everybody's their own little island,
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
you guys are explaining this a really weird way. So, like, individualism and tribalism are two parts of one whole, right? Like, what you guys are talking about is like an isolationism versus a hive mind. That's like actually what you guys are breaking down, because the idea of a hive mind where they just become retarded and just follow, sorry, I shouldn't say that word, they just become followers of what's happening around them. It's not they aren't individualized, versus people who aren't in contact with anyone, period. It doesn't make any sense, right? Whereas individualism, look, the fact is that people in tribes that were excluded from certain things and were created that would be individuals, that would be free thinkers and things like that, were people that would be viewed as like a shaman or a healer in the tribe, right? They were set apart. That's why they're not like what you guys are really going the two crazy extremes that we're seeing right now, which I think are just, there's no benefit to those two extremes. They're exactly that. They're just extremism and have no place.
Well, I'm looking at it from the way like I grew up. When I grew up here, there was a lot in the 90s, especially there was a lot of gang stuff.
Yeah,
and pretty much if you look at it from a broad spectrum, those gangs were different tribes. And what was the first thing everybody's against is gangs. If you look into the critical race theory thing, the reason why they're bringing up this so-called critical race theory is because America went colorblind. America was trying to look at everybody as one person, as not as a color, as just people. And the critical race people don't want that. They're saying that it's taking away their individualism, which they just want to start their own tribe. And once we have all these separate tribes, then there's separate segregations. No matter how they're taking care of the people within the tribe, when you look at the big fucking picture of it, it's pretty much segregation, which starts the racism, which starts the hate, which starts all the other dumb shit.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. Like, look, that idea where everyone should be the same because we're all in the same country, like, that's crazy talk, right? The fact is that all those factors that we're talking about are different levels of extremism that in no way, shape, or form are beneficial to any sort of progress that we've seen through history, right? As soon as people start going extremes, that's when you have things like genocide, things like crimes against humanity. That's people do extreme things when put in extreme situations, and we can't handle it.
Well, I agree with that. Now, on the other hand, to play devil's advocate, yeah. Ryan is kind of right. There has been times in history, and there has been different societies that the whole tribalism, the whole what was the old it takes a village, type deal. There were certain places that worked out as long as people all stayed within an understanding. But after a while, and we've learned this through history, there's always somebody who doesn't like this or that. There's always somebody who wants to oppress. There's always going to be that hierarchy no matter what. And people look for that. You know, people say that they don't want a government, or they don't want a president, or they don't want a king, but they always want a leader. No matter what you call the name, you always need somebody to blame.
I would say they need a leader, not want. You know what I mean? Like there's anybody who wants to separate tends to be the person who wants to be the new leader. You know what I mean?
See, here's what I really wanted to get to, and this is kind of a weird. We've reached a place now. Like I think you need a common goal, right? And not so long ago, there were much stronger common goals that we reached for and we attained for, and now I feel like this. I mean, I guess I'll call it the cult of individualism. It just feels like everybody, because we all want what we want, we're less likely to work towards a common goal together, and we're way easier to be divided. We fight all the time, nothing gets accomplished. Like that's the individualism that I think is the problem.
It's kind of like
whether you want to call it nationality, whatever you want to call it, we've let go of that spirit to work together to accomplish something great. It's more like me, my, I want this, I want that, I'm offended, you've offended me. Like that is kind of where I wanted to go. So I think Brian had a comment.
Isn't that the basics for war? Divide and conquer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
sometimes
what is going on here, basically, more or less?
I feel like we've all been divided and we're just waiting to be conquered.
See, I look at it more this way. Once upon a time, we were all reading the same book. We were all on the same page. We were just in different paragraphs. Then it went from being on different paragraphs to being on different pages. And then we went to a different book. Now, what we need to do is just go back to the same book. Who cares what page or what conversation we're on? Sure. But I mean, the easiest way that I saw the change and the quickest way that I saw the change is in TV. Remember when we were growing up, everybody, unless you had a little bit wealthier family and you had cable and Cinemax, everybody had the same 3 channels. Everybody had the same shit. So if there was a show on a prominent sitcom or whatever, that week pretty much the majority of people watched that sitcom and you could talk about it and you had something that you had in common. Well, now with all these different channels and all these different outlets, there's rarely anybody who has who's on the same, on the same wavelength, and that's the same thing in the broad spectrum with everybody else. Nobody has that commonality anymore.
Would we say that TV then is the root of all evil?
No. We're trying to get on
media, possibly.
Well, except for our sponsors, right?
Yeah.
Well, media and TV are 2 different things.
Well,
right.
So this question here is pretty good. Does extreme individualism turn into its own tribalism? And I think
yes,
we've even passed that stage, right? Because this is kind of what Marco's talking about. It used to be everybody watched the same 3, 5 to 8 channels, and then we all, you would watch what you watch, and you find people that were like-minded to you. And now it's hard to even find those groups anymore because everyone is becoming like their own little island. Everybody's got their own blog that they read that affects them, or they've seen this YouTuber that they agree with, or they've seen this new cast that they agree with, but this guy they don't agree with. And hey, I'm over here, but I'm not over there. And I believe
it makes it harder for people to be. It makes it harder for people to actually get real knowledge. It makes it harder for people to look at both sides of a story, because nowadays, especially like Brian just said with the media. If you get a prominent media source and you get enough people listening to them, they can tell you that the sky is fucking purple and that the sun is made out of marshmallows. If there's enough people who watch it and believe that, perception is reality. That lie becomes real because of the group.
I don't think Marco even meant the steerers here, but we're just getting there. So Jen says this topic is a little bit too broad. I saw this more on an anthropological perspective, but I see it kind of going political for you. So Jen, why don't you ask us a question and steer us back in the right direction? Because that's kind of where I was trying to go with this. I was trying to leave the politics out of it, but it seeps in. It seeps into everything now. But I do think that extreme individualism can turn into its own tribalism, but then it just goes back to individualism is kind of where we're at now. Dino, what do you think? You've been too quiet for too long.
No, it's more so that so I'm just getting private comments as well. So the problem is that we want immediate answers, quality or actually doesn't matter anymore, and that's fair. Like there's a certain degree of with what we're talking about. And you know what? Like I don't think it should be political. I think that's a dumb thing to exist. And I know it's rampant in a lot of places. I'm in Canada. It's here. It's in the U.S. I know, and it's in a lot of countries where people's political stands are like, no, I'm going to die on this hill, and you're like, you're ridiculous, right? Like these are the things that we're going. But anthropologically, as Jen said, is specifically that idea of having some sort of hive mind is one of those bases. Which I don't mean to trigger Marco on this, but like the Georgia Guidestones, where it says that society needs to be under 500 million people, is that same idea where when we get so massive of a population where now you're getting these crazy extremes of people that don't think. And I put up this picture before that shows, how things go from anarchy all the way to totalitarian control. And we have that sweet spot in the middle. And that is where when society just starts to unravel and go crazy on those two extremes, whereas right in the middle is a good place to be for all of us.
We'll go back up. I'm confused now because this chart doesn't make a lot of sense to me at all. There's a lot of variables on this thing. All right, so family and community.
I get.
I'm a college dropout. What's the difference between an intrinsic right and extrinsic right? There, help me out here.
Okay, intrinsic means it's responsibility inside you. Okay, extrinsic means the responsibility of the collective to follow what the collective has said.
Okay, so
in other words, you hold on the one side, you would hold yourself accountable. On the other side, everyone around you holds you accountable as the collective.
Okay.
Okay. So in other words,
the chart is still not making sense with me though. So like the happy place, I guess this chart is saying is somewhere between anarchy and a totalitarian dictatorship.
Exactly.
Just that green line. Just look at where America used to be.
Yes,
that's really where America used to be. We had our fuck ups on one side that were extreme lefts. We had some extreme rights, but for the most part, we had that kind of balance. And when nationalism became a racist thing, that's when we started falling apart.
So
you can't just keep making statements like that because now I want to just dive into that, and we're gonna just leave that the fuck alone. Go ahead.
No. This is so what Marco said is it is part of it. So think about it this way. In peak industrial revolution, but also peak workers' rights, that time, that would have been what that center perfect point would be. So in other words, you have a maximum amount of growth in the country and wealth being expanded, and it was a tangible thing. The country was getting richer, but also it wasn't at the expense of human dignity. So when you had the inclusion of workers' rights, children not doing work and things like that. So that kind of center point.
Let's timeline this. What are we talking here? The 50s, 60s? Where are we at here?
It might have even been around then. Like I'm not sure because my American history is not spectacular, but we follow a lot of the same historical lines, except for one really important one.
Well, now this actually, especially what you brought up, this kind of brings up an old conversation that Ryan and I had on one of the other shows, which kind of proved me wrong. At the same time, like what you said, when the Industrial Revolution was rising, there was also, and I think you were part of the show too, the Renaissance, the art Renaissance was going up too. And I didn't really take that into consideration, and I kind of blew that off. But this conversation has actually proven your point on that. So, I mean, as long as you keep that kind of level, it's going to tilt here and there every once in a while. But then when you get, like I said, with the whole nationalism was America being proud of being Americans,
right?
Not as a tribe, Americans, not as a country with, all right, we got a bunch of white people, we got a bunch of black folks, we got a bunch of Hispanic folks, we got a bunch of this, we got a bunch of that. Right. That ripped apart nationalism because everybody got it in their head because Orange Man bad. Nationalism was a racist thing.
All right, so this is
it may have existed before Trump.
I just threw that in.
We're gonna let our guests go first, but then.
All right, go ahead.
Let me see here. As far as the information I've gotten to date, right? we can go far back into Africa where black folks actually slaved black folks, and then moving on, like the Spanish had slaves, right? And then we come into America where Americans had slaves, right? And they've been using this whole, well, I don't want to get political, so
as soon as you said slaves,
in all, when you get to tribalism, everybody wants to own something, right?
Sure.
You know, whether it's a person or property or a car. Nowadays it's a car. I guess we're going electric car now, right? So, but everybody wants to own something, no matter what generation we're talking about, whether it's been 2,000 years ago or present day.
Yeah.
So, coming back, or I'm swinging back to the whole war thing. When someone wants to own something, they'll do anything they have to do so, even if they don't have possession of it yet, right? So, I guess if I were a tribal chief of some kind, and actually I'm a lineage of pure American Indian, so I know for a fact, even in my lineage, Indians owned Indians, for crying out loud. So I kind of, for years, have just put that to the side. I don't try not to think about it because, after all, it was my forefathers and not myself. I try to move forward and say, hey, what am I doing today and tomorrow and so on to make my life and everyone's life around me better. And
yeah, well, I think that goes kind of to your individualism, and that's a good thing.
Well, hold on, I can hear you. I don't think anybody knows how to do it all by themselves, though. But Marco, what are you saying?
Well, I think what he's saying on that part brings out the good part of individualism. He says he tries to, no matter what happened in his past or whatever, he still, he wakes up every day and sees what he could do for somebody else, whatever, which is a good thing. But if you really want to look at, like he brought up the slavery thing, slavery originated in tribalism. That is the problem there. Yeah. Like when the black folks sold the black folks to the Spanish folks in the beginning, it was the tribe that sold a certain amount of people because they thought they were going to get whatever for their tribe to make it better. They did the same thing with the Indians. The Indians, traded furs or whatever for people, or they traded, whatever they traded, they thought they were doing good for the collective.
Yeah.
And honestly, a lot of times that doesn't, it's in, the eye of the beholder.
Hey, Dino, can we chill on these charts a little bit until, we'll pause and bring them up if you got something, but.
On the other hand, now, again, I'm trying to look at this from both sides. If you look at the old, especially back in the 60s when they had the communes and everything like that, that was kind of a collective thing. They were supposed to do for each other. And you see, like, not very many of them. I mean, it's a good idea, but only the Amish got that shit to work. And they don't really, their shit kind of got more modernized throughout the years.
They got Americanized, dude.
Right.
Okay, America got them. Yeah,
we got everybody. So much America. It's just people. It's human nature. Nobody wants to. Well, wait a second, Ryan. Everybody wants to own something, but nobody wants to be owned. And once you feel like you're being owned, whether it's by your government, by your family, by your community, or whatever, that's what makes the people break out. Not necessarily to rule, but not to not be ruled.
All right, so we got
that question.
We got a couple questions here, and we'll get to them. Yes, yeah. We gotta read it though for the people that aren't watching. So how do you feel the COVID pandemic has impacted the concept of individualism versus collectivism? Do you feel that this disaster has brought more people together or divided us even more as a society? And I see the rest of your comments coming in. We'll take these one by one, so please just be patient. Brian, what do you got on this one?
Jennifer, COVID is being used as a weapon. Okay, even if it was started indirectly as a mistake, or if in fact it was weaponized, now it is being weaponized, regardless of how it started. And again, without trying to be too political, really it's going to be up to the individual and how to deal with it and what to think about it, of course. But I encourage everyone always to vote. I'm not going to be political.
So Michael says the crazy thing is during the American Civil War, the Confederacy and the Union both promised slaves freedom for fighting on their behalf. Then when the Union won, those ex-slave basically got their old jobs back for another year. Yes, but they were free to do it. Remember, that's very important. You're free to work here for no wages now. That's great. Yeah, no, you got a good point, Michael. What I was thinking more about is, I mean, if you even want to go even further back into history.
No, let's stay on the pandemic thing because that's a good question.
Oh, you want to go on the pandemic thing?
It's,
okay,
it's a great question. It's relevant.
Okay, go ahead.
What does the pandemic have to do with the Civil War, though?
Well, you jumped over the pandemic and went to the Civil War. What the question was, the way I'm looking at it is, they use the pandemic like they use the race card. You know, they pick the news channels and the news outlets that are predominantly the ones that are most watched in a certain demographic, and then they pump this bullshit through. So once they have one side or the other, I'm not going to say, whether it's good or bad. We're just going to say once they have one side or the other with the majority of people, then those people, especially because of the internet now, push their views on others. And if somebody doesn't like that, like, you don't know how much shit that I catch because I'm unvaccinated. Oh, you don't care about this, or you don't care about that. Well, you don't care about that you're getting a vaccine for a new virus that this vaccine doesn't even stop. So now you're getting mad because I'm not doing something that even if you're vaccinated, you should be fine. But because of the whole tribalism and the whole, everybody in this collective that you got to get vaccinated, you got to save the lives. Well, now it's kind of like putting a guilt trip on people, and that's where the weaponization and the politicization of this.
I don't think that's how they're weaponizing it at all. I think that this is another tool to divide us along our own ignorant lines.
Well, that's it. Does that?
Yeah, but it's not about whether you get vaccinated or not. It's about the two sides are now fighting each other again over a stupid issue.
It's like really political warfare.
Yeah, really dumb. You should do that. And, oh, you're a sheep. Like, please take that down. That's why people get mad at you. Like, because you can't, like, you gotta put the sheep thing up in the background.
I like it.
The sheep represents the tribalism. The sheep represents the collective.
Us into thinking this, that, the other, and stopping us from thinking for ourselves.
Right. Now, again,
Tom. It's a huge variable, and it's made. I mean, look, I was saying this even before Trump got elected, but it's even scarier now. I don't want to get into the different politics of who's right and who's wrong. I'm probably going to vote green from now on because they're both evil. I'm just putting that out there. But over the past 4 years, 8 years, they're wrong. I'm right. They're wrong. I'm right. And we've been, well, you should get vaccinated. You shouldn't get vaccinated. Hey, here's COVID. Hey, here's a hurricane. Hey, here's a food shortage. Hey, like, we're clearly in the middle of bread and circuses, and nobody wants to talk about it. Like we just move from whatever they tell us to talk about today to whatever they tell us to talk about tomorrow.
Well, the problem is once upon a time we were allowed to talk about it. We all knew that it probably won't get fixed, but we were all allowed to have a certain opinion, and we were all allowed to have our opinion. Nowadays,
it's not. This is back to the individualism that I want to chime in right here on this, because you feel like your individual opinion is being silenced. And no, I'm more on we're all being silenced, right? I mean, I wanted to touch on that we had our own revolution, and in the French Revolution, we haven't seen a disparity between the ruling class and the peasantry class like we're seeing now since the French Revolution. The difference was back in the day, the peasants actually got together and saw that they were being played, and they rose up. And I think the problem that we're going to have now is because of this cult of individualism. Me and Marco disagree, so we're not going to rise up together. You know, me and Dino disagree, so we're not going to rise up together. I think
That's what I was getting
class,
at.
Bro.
That's what I was getting at. Like once upon a time, regardless of whether we disagreed or not, we still were fighting for the same. You know, we disagreed on topics in America, but we still fought for America. Now it's getting to the point where if you disagree on a topic, then it's fuck everybody, and you know you find your couple of people that rise up with you, and it's like, you know, it's not for the common good anymore. You know, and again, you know, this has both, it's both sides, and I'm trying to stay away from the political too. I'm looking at it more of a look at a car plant. You know, you have to have a hive mind to put together that car, but when you leave out of there, you're the individual. Now, if you take a different, like you get a car plant that makes these high-end cars where they're handmade by 2 or 3 people, you got this fucker coming out maybe in a year or two, and you don't know who did what to it or whatever. You know, so there's goods and bads on it, but again, you got to have a common goal. When you take that common goal away from it, then pretty much you guys are just a bunch of gangbangers fighting each other.
See, it's not even that for me. If you want to stay with the current and look at the current situation of America, everybody, the rich, the poor, the immigrants, the people that have been around, everybody is like, our system
Those
is broken.
labels are what makes the tribalism real.
Everybody in this country is like, our system is broken, our politicians are corrupt, there's money inequity, there's healthcare inequity, but nothing ever gets done. Like we're at the same level of fed up that we were when we rebelled against the British, that we were when the French rebelled against their overlords, their nobles, and nothing is getting done because we're all, me and Marco thinks he shouldn't be vaccinated, and I think he should, and let's talk about that for 20 minutes, right? Like,
what's Dino thinking about?
What do you think, Dino? Let's get to you. You've been quiet too long.
The vaccination topic's better than talking about slavery.
Why does slavery always come up with you guys?
I didn't bring it up.
Wasn't me this time. Wasn't me this time.
It wasn't my.
And always when it's 4 white faces, and I'm like, yeah, can we not? I'm German. I'm not allowed to touch on certain things. This is let's move.
The fact is, okay, we've
gotten. I was a slave, so.
All right. Listen, on that note, you know what it is. We're about the 30-minute mark.
Yeah, it's halfway
coming, and we're going to answer. Michael, I see you. Tom, thanks for chiming in, man. Guys, let us know what you think. If you think you have a solution, or if you have a thought on the individual versus the collective, and let's plug our sponsors real quick while you guys get in there. First and foremost, I'm plugging myself. If you're in Cleveland, 8/25 is our next big event. We're doing the Light 'em Up Showcase again. It's free to get in. RSVP or seating at eargasmcomedy@gmail.com. There are literally like 10 tables in this place, and if you don't RSVP, you will not have a chair.
Where's this place?
Oh, it's bar 17, actually.
Okay,
yeah, it's right over there.
And what time?
It's on the flyer. We're moving. We're sticking and moving. We got 30 seconds to do this.
Okay.
Next up, don't forget, Never Settle Apparel is our newest overlord, okay? Never Settle Apparel. Use code Ryan20 off. It'll get you 20% off. They just launched last month. They've got some great motivational merchandise. They're going to have more. They are going to carry our merch in the future.
And you can wear some of that to go to bar 17.
Yeah, you can wear some of that to bar 17. Absolutely. And finally, don't forget to go to Brick and Equity if you want to buy a home, if you want to sell a home, if you're looking to get into some turnkey investments. Maybe you want to put some of your money in the pot as they flip a house. Or if you want to invest in your own self-directed IRA, they do all of it. Give them a call. The number's on the screen. And finally, our food sponsor for the next, I don't know how long, is going to be Ohio City Barbecue. Just mention Eargasm and get 15% off. That's 20% off your clothes, 15% off your food, and help selling your house. There you go. I am a magnanimous overlord, and I give you a nice thing. That was very nice. That was good.
Yeah. That's quick.
I try. This is the one time where me being quick is good for me.
Can't give you sponsors one more time.
You're not plugged 3 times throughout the show.
Okay.
You know? Okay. Listen.
Dino, how's it going in Canada there?
It's a shit show. You know what? Our numbers are slowly going up. This is going to be lockdown number 46.
Have you had COVID yet?
No. So, okay, this is the thing. I haven't gotten my shot yet. Okay. But at the same time, I self-isolated. I don't leave the house. Like, I go outside for a smoke. I don't meet with people. Like, people have come over and I wear a mask. We stay 6 feet apart. I'm like, I've been isolated this entire time. Like, since it started, I don't want to see anybody. A couple people have popped by. We both have masks. We're like shake hands, and then we sanitize right afterward. It's fine. I'll be honest with you. I'm not anti-vax, but I am pro-pandemic, and I'm like, I am good with not seeing anybody. Okay, I am. So
well, so Michael here brings up a good point. I want to grab on here.
Yes.
So he says he completely agrees. I've had COVID. I wouldn't call anyone a sheep, but I just don't understand with over 4 million COVID deaths worldwide, why a shot is such an inconvenience. It's an airborne virus with 4 different variants. Even if you don't want it, someone's grandparent that you're walking by and cough could kill them if you have a non-symptomatic version. Well, this is what bothers me. And I don't want to get in this tribalism today because you're about to see us be divided right here on the podcast, and that's not the point.
Well, what not necessarily, you just have an opinion.
My opinion is this: why is such an educated modern society is scientific fact disputed to the point that it is right now, right? Like people argument on the debates and the masks and shit.
Yeah.
Like you realize that our scientific community had to stop and redo the fucking petri dish tests where they went and had studies where people wore a mask and coughed on a petri dish, and they showed you, look, there's bacteria here. Look, there's no bacteria with the mask. Like,
okay,
in 2021, this shit still needs to happen.
It's not.
I know there are more studies out.
There's studies that show
more doctors are coming out of the woodwork now.
There's studies that show masks don't catch germs.
Well, okay,
let's burn this mother down.
They do, but I mean, why? But it's the mask itself. If you use just a cotton mask, it might not allow. It'll allow microbes to go in and out, but
not all.
The N95 or better are the ones you want to have to stop the microbes from going back and forth.
See, and this is why I picked the mask, because I'll give the vaxxers their each way. I'll give it each way.
Oh,
the science behind it is get the vaccine, get it in the herd, so there's less variants that'll be spread.
Yeah,
we were told this from the beginning. And now there's more variants being spread. And
I'll tell you what. Hold on.
Go ahead, Dino.
Just 1 second, Marco. This is the problem, okay? Is that we weren't told at the beginning. In fact, it was concealed from us from the beginning, which we have now proof. That's why people don't want to listen. Okay?
And I'm not
saying they're right.
Brother. Yeah, you're right.
What I'm saying is this: is we have literally proven there is a certain level of deceit that is acceptable, and on the government's behalf. And you know what? The people have said that's not acceptable.
But we're all like, this is not acceptable, and we just allow it.
That's because we're a bunch of pieces of shit. That's why we have turned into pieces of shit, and we haven't been able to stand up to what is going on. But the fact is, we can't even get elected officials that are doing the job. Sorry, Marco. I apologize. I keep on going with this.
I
feel like Marco's like another one joins the Brotherhood.
we did, and we got another comment. But I want to roll.
Let's completely answer his question.
All right, I want to roll with Dino's thing though. So let's answer it quick. So
back to was it Michael Bryan or Brian Michael?
Michael Bryan.
Michael Bryan. Okay, so some of the new studies are saying that the folks that have had the shots are actually, the variants are still affecting them. They're getting sick, and then they're still able to pass it on as well.
Yeah, but do you understand that's why we didn't? I want to get off this. I want to get completely off this. We will in a second. So I want to get back to what you were saying, to the news, and to this is back to the core of the debate.
Wait a fucking minute. No.
I want off.
No, let him, Marco.
Let him. There's 10 minutes left in the show.
Did you see that mute? That's what the fuck we're talking about with the tribalism and the hierarchy.
Yeah,
that mute button right there. That mute button.
It could fall in place. Okay.
All right. So let's just answer his question nice and sweet. I think the reason that a lot of people don't get vaccinated, including myself, and a lot of and I'm sorry, I'm bringing it back out for you because you pulled it out. A lot of the snowflakes don't fucking get is that one, we've had the whole world dealing with certain diseases that have been knocking people out by the thousands and thousands yearly. And we still don't have cures for them.
Right.
We still don't have cures for them. Two, we have the same people who are telling us one thing, telling us another thing, days in ahead of time, and when questioned about it, they go back, they backpedal on shit. Now you talk about the shit and bacteria and masks or whatever. Anything you put over your face is going to collect any kind of bacteria or whatever. That doesn't mean it's not going through. Work in a paint shop, work in a machine shop, working in any of that. We wear masks regardless, just to keep the fucking toxic things out, and people still get shit. If a fucking mask can't stop the smell of a fart, it's not going to stop a damn virus. Now, another big reason that people don't get these vaccines are you're forcing our American population to get vaccines pretty much, but you're letting in thousands and thousands of people with God knows what. I mean, when this shit first started happening, the fucking plague was back in America. Nobody talks about that. The plague is back in America. You know, I did a whole show on that shit, but they keep it hush hush, and there's no cure for that either. So, and science, this is the last thing. Science tells you, and you look this the fuck up, that it takes at least 2 years for anything to show its real effects on people, good or bad. That's the reason why they're just now starting this bullshit on the vapes and banning vapes, because they had no clue what it was doing to these people 2-3 years ago. You know, all they had was the popcorn lung, and they only knew that because of the oils that they were using to cut the shit. So, you know, in 2 years, when I see that the population is not dying off, or if I see nobody has a weird cancer or a third nipple or some shit like that, then yeah, maybe I will get the vaccine. Shit, I got a shit ton of vaccines. I have no clue what I got when I was in the military. They just hit me with a gun. It ain't even about that. It's a bunch of fucking shit that isn't answered scientifically or otherwise. And that's what gives the big red flag that says, fuck you guys, I'm healthy.
So
I agree.
I'll talk to you after the show. So what I was trying to get to, back to the tribalism versus the is again, and we'll hit on your topics, Michael. I see you still coming, man, and some of the stuff you got to say is real good.
Thanks for your service, Mike.
Yeah. So again, we're all completely okay with our news media lying to us, with our politicians lying to us. We all know it's corrupt, but we let them continue to play these games and play us, and that's that.
Well, on that end, they kind of
comments.
Vote them out.
well, on the news end, they kind of played the same thing with us. You know, it's this set of news people are telling the truth. No, this set of news people are telling the truth. So now you can't even trust the fucking news anymore.
Yeah.
So Michael says, I have the alpha variant. It's one that stays with you for life. I was one of the first 5,000 people in California to get COVID. They didn't have shit for me. They basically told me to go home and die in a room. I was there for 2 months before I tested negative. Marco is like Alec Jones with no COVID experience. I was in the military too, Marco. Love you, appreciate you. But I just both love and appreciate you.
Here's the experience. My daughter and her son had COVID.
Here's what's infuriating. And Marco, we all know that you have people that have COVID.
Right. And
you've got one of our viewers chiming in where he's using the same argument that you're using against for.
Right,
right. The same argument that we made.
There's no.
And if you don't quit
middle ground,
every thought that I have, I swear to God, the same argument that we made on this podcast that we've now been flipped, and we're now talking about COVID. So we'll come back to another episode of this tribalism crap. I'm sorry. It's why I tried to squash it twice on the air. Hey, if you like watching the show and watching me try to squash non-topic topics, please give us a like, give us a share, give us a comment. But 3 months or 6 months ago,
I got a question
we were talking about we don't know the science yet, right? And that's why we should be taking precautions. You should be. There was no vaccine at this point, and we're like, yo, you should stay home. You should wear a mask. And the same individualistic little red monster flared up. I don't want to stay home. I want to go to concerts. I want to travel. I don't want to get the shot. I don't know what it's the same. That's what aggravates me about our individualism in the society. It's the same games, just a new debate. And while we do this, they sit back and laugh and watch us die.
Yeah, I could kind of agree with that. But I mean, it's just like what Mike was saying goes into our whole talk, because he belongs to the tribe that believes that the people who are unvaccinated or don't believe in the hype, you know, he believes in that they are wrong. So there's that tribalism. He's part of that tribe that you are actually a part of, Ryan.
It's not a tribe, though. Look, we're gonna plug one more again. And Michael Bryan, thank you. I love that you coming in here and comment with us. We love having you on.
Come again,
man.
There's not enough time.
There's not an hour. We need a longer show. He had a notebook of topics that he wanted to get to. We were going to talk about Rome and Greek and how their collective
Greek is a language, not a place, you dick.
I'm with Lex. I'm with Jen. We were going to go more anthropological with this, but here we are in the COVID debate for the 20th.
I believe it was your square that brought up slavery, so eat it.
My people brought slavery. No,
your square brought slavery and COVID.
To the victory goes the spoils. History is written by the winners, and over, we all have this great image. We brought this up on previous shows. We got this great image of the Romans fighting Carthage, and the Romans fighting the Carthaginian tribes, and they were all white, and the Romans were white. Get the fuck out of here. Carthage was a black nation enslaving and killing people in fucking the BCs. Okay. This slavery's been around forever, inequity's been around forever, and we got to quit forgetting our own fucking history. There you go.
Listen, how would the Romans deal with COVID in their day?
They would kill everyone that had it.
Let the people die off and let the universe spin the herd.
Lepers.
Yeah,
and
mass grave separations. We have all this technology, right? Today,
but with less technology,
education,
with less technology, because
we're still doing the same crap.
But with less technology,
how come the Amish aren't dying off?
You can take this left or right, and our comment section can take this left or right. As a matter of fact, Tom just talked about the lepers. With less technology and less understanding, they segregated the lepers. They would segregate sick communities because they didn't want everyone to catch it. So they took an action to try to, whether it be a wrong, whatever you want, wrong, right, morally wrong, yeah, probably. But they were like, yo, this is highly contagious. Go over there. If you get it, go over there, because we're not trying to give it to everybody. And here in our current modern age, with all of our technology and all of our science, we got people debating whether there should be an implementation of some sort, whether we should take some kind of action. And thousands of years ago, they're like, yeah, we don't want everyone to die. Go over there.
It isn't the point to take an implementation. It isn't the point to take action. It's the point of how and why.
It comes back to me for the core point.
The easiest way to get this gone is to answer the questions that nobody wants to answer.
This is the core of our debate right now, though, right? It's the core of the individualism versus the group, right?
Right.
In that day and time, the group was more important. So if Marco got leprosy, we would ship Marco off to a fucking island, and that would be the end of it. Right? Because the group was more important. But now we've reached this other end of the spectrum where the individual is more important, even if it kills the group. There's a great test that they teach in school, and I'm going to screw this up completely, but it's the railroad track problem. Remember the railroad track? If you can control the switch on a switchboard, and on one track there's 5 people, and on the other track there's 1 person, would you flip the switch and kill the 1 person for the 5? There's too many people. I'd loop back
and kill the 1 and the 5.
That would kill the 5 now. There's too many people that would kill the 5 now.
But they never think about the 1 person that comes up and tells all 6 people to get the fuck off the track.
All right, we're coming up on the end here. We got a couple more comments coming in, and Brian, I know you got a couple more things you want to say. Excellent show, gentlemen. Generally, I really appreciate all of you. The conversations make us all better. That is the point of Deep Space, and thank you for joining us. We'd love to have you on, my friend. I don't know where to go from here. That was kind of the end. That was kind of the thing. Do you have any rebuttals for a reason to kill the 5 people versus the 1?
Any rebuttals to kill the 5 people versus the 1?
Yeah.
I mean, if it comes down to it, the 1 person is gone. I mean, in the big scheme of things. But again, is that 1 person going to die for them 5 people, or is it 1 person that's going to die for 1 million people? Because that makes a difference there.
I think we've reached a point this is good. Thank you. That we've reached a point where that's a question and it's okay. I think it's reaching a point now where it's socially okay if you're that person and you choose to save yourself, versus you might get some dirty looks, and you might get shunned, but people kind of understand. And I think 1,000 years ago, it was less common. Like, it was more common that you would choose to save someone else.
Well,
over
that's
yourself.
what makes America in itself. And that's what a lot of people are having problems with now. America was an individual tribe. You know, we'll put it both together. America was this individual tribe because we didn't do what Africa did. We didn't do what Spain did. We didn't do what Europe did. We took a little bit of each one that was what we thought at the time was the best parts, and we put it together and made our own shit. Now, the big issue is now, because America is different than everybody else, that we're wrong in a lot of people's eyes. And that's fucked up because you've said it yourself. Well, what about Europe? Or what about Sweden? Or what about this and that who does this and it makes it work? Yeah, but what about all them who tried different shit that works for us that don't work there?
Look, I mean, it's really hard with you, Marco, because I know that you're very patriotic and I know that you've served, and it's hard to have these talks with you. And I would love to talk on this topic further. But if you really want to look at America's history, there are multiple reasons why we don't stand for what we said we were going to stand for anymore. We just don't. The CIA does terrible shits in other countries every day. Every day.
That's true, but America's always been divided.
You're part of the culture that looks at all the faults here. Yes, we have a shit ton of faults.
Brian wants to say something. He's been too quiet. Since day one, we've been divided.
You know, ever since America was conceived, it's been divided because when it comes to truly men that were putting it together and they all decided they were branching out, you know, and then here you have the Civil War. After we got rid of the British, England, whatever, and then we became a country, what happened next? We divided ourselves again.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
And every time we try to come together, somebody puts a different fucking, roadblock in the way, whether it be race, whether it be a pandemic,
right?
Whatever.
It's used. It's what I call political civil war. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's what's happening now. Political civil war.
And to go back to what Ryan said,
is like Jennifer just said, us versus them.
It goes back to what Ryan said.
If we don't have these kinds of conversations more and in vast numbers. And I'd just like to say I'm gonna invite my 1,000,000+ viewers next time, and we'll see what happens.
Why?
Hopefully we won't get kicked off.
I want to get back to something that Ryan said earlier. Wait a second, Ryan.
Okay.
You said that we constantly accept all this shit from our government and nothing ever changes. And what I see the biggest problem with that is, and we can see it in this administration, not what's going on, just in the history of it. We get to a point where, all right, our country wants a change. Our country wants something different. But then when they see the difference, oh my God, we can't do it that way. So let's just take somebody who's been doing things the same way for 50 years and put him back in the office, so it just goes that same way. It's like people say they want change, but they don't really want it. They just want to bitch about it.
Again, this is why I'm going to vote green. I'm going to encourage all my people to vote green. You're talking about this administration, the Trump administration, before that, Obama. We haven't had any progress.
I'm talking about 56 years of the same thing that people just added into it.
Damn space race.
No,
we haven't had a collective mission.
We had progress in the Kennedy administration. We had progress in the Bush administration. We had progress even in the Obama administration.
Stop. This is so annoying. I'm trying to wrap up here, man. That's what I want to end the show on. That's what I want to ask our viewers. We haven't had a collective goal in this country, a goal that everyone agreed on since the space race, right? So if you want America to be great again, you want a MAGA, you want to make America great again, what's our common goal? Let us know in the comments what you think it should be. What should be America's great defining purpose moving forward? Because the whole Obama, Trump, nothing has changed in fucking 50 years, man. It's the same oligarchy playing out over and over and over again. They win, we lose. So what's our common goal? What's our great uniter? Because at this point, healthcare didn't do it. Social inequality didn't do it. A fucking plague didn't do it. So what is the great movement that's going to bring us all together as a country?
Move to
Let us know
Canada.
in the comment section below. And
According to Reagan, it's the UFOs.
I made a promise that I wasn't going to
talk that.
I made a promise that I wasn't going to take him out anymore, viewers. But you
lied. You lied to them.
Yeah. All right.
You're a horrible
Dino,
person.
you got anything else, or you just want to close this bitch out?
Yeah, no, let's lower gas prices. Jen, you're
Lower
awesome.
the gas prices.
You know what?
Let's
Listen,
go.
I think after all is said and done, what we have to understand is whenever there's any sort of move to Canada, yeah, that's exactly it. Whenever there's any sort of extreme, you're going to see extreme reactions, extreme results. Okay. The fact is that we've been kicked out of the idea that having a community is a necessity for a good life. The fact is that's because some people weren't accepted by communities, and this has caused their own separation and all sorts of things. But what we really need to get back to is being able to function as society, which is what is really under attack, right? We are having waves of people. Listen, people are killing each other because of their political stand. Like, what? Right. You can't talk? You didn't go to kindergarten and learn how to use your damn words? And that's the thing, is then you have politicians who are now siding on being paid to side for certain things. You're going, no. It's no longer in control of the people. You have everything's going backwards. There has to be some reestablishment of a baseline that people can trust. People can, like, look, if you get your news from this show, I question your morals. But what I do think is you're willing to listen to things, and that's okay. Because, listen, being a part of something is good. It feels good to be part of a group. We all want that feeling. The problem is when it gets weird and you have some German guy turn off your camera constantly. That's when it gets weird.
The Greek died. I'm the German guy that shuts off the camera.
You're the German.
Yeah, I'm Yavel. All right, that's the show for you, Brian. Thank you for joining us. Did you have fun?
Thank you for having me. Know that people in this world know who I am. Maybe they'll tune in.
Yeah.
Again, I'll hit this to my. I actually have like.
We're still live. We're still live. So, do you have a message? Do you have a message for your viewers?
I didn't tune in. I neglected to connect this to my stuff. So it's only whoever's on your network. But I do appreciate everyone that's tuned in. I appreciate Dino and Marco for their contributions. And I just want to thank you, Ryan, for having me. And again, if you all like what you've seen, please submit it and let us know if you want me to come back or not.
Let us know if you'd like Brian back in the comments below. Let us know what you think our great unifier will be in the future. And no.
I want to end it because you guys seem to not know how to fucking end this shit.
Let him end
All right,
it.
keep go.
All right, so to get back to what the topic we started off with, tribalism. There's its pros and cons, just like individualism. On a local level, as a community, as a society, it is good to have a community that sticks together and bands together and helps out. The biggest problem is when the communities don't want to interact with each other and they want to keep it alone. We got to be able to let other ideas and other peoples in for the whole tribal, collective, whatever the fuck to work. And I think Ryan's right. We need to come together and find something as a country once again to stand behind to bring everybody together. And,
holy shit, we came to a conclusion.
With that being said, thanks you guys for being out on Deep Space. We got the Stay at Home show maybe this Friday, depending on if we have any comedians. We have Random Tandem with Dino and Ryan on Saturday. We have other shit coming up. We will keep you posted. That being said, we're out, folks.
Deep space is a safe place to speak speak your mind. Join us as we go deep and see what we find. Don't just stay in the shallow, follow us into the atmosphere. This discussion's going to a new level, cause you know we're about to go